I'm racist.
JPEGMAFIA's 6th studio album is out now, and despite the pretty lukewarm reception, especially compared to some of his other projects, even came with some sample-related drama that we'll get into, there are of course still a plethora of cool samples to check out, which is exactly what we'll be doing today. Oh, and as for why this video is labeled Part 1, I'll explain at the end. And just last thing before we start, I actually live stream my reaction to this record on my channel, so check it out if you want to see my raw reaction to the Charlie Kirk 4-piece that Peggy hit us with. And if you want to tune into future live streams, I've started streaming every single Friday. We're going to be doing some more album reactions, new and old, and I've even got some other plans for other fun activities to do live, including a potential live sample breakdown. So if that sounds cool to you, I'd really appreciate you popping in, and hell, maybe even throw in a dono for your boy if you're feeling generous. But okay, intro talk over, let's get started with the breakdown. Kicking us off, we have the intro track, which translated from Japanese reveals the title, The Art of Projection, and it mainly consists of a sample from comedian Paul Mooney's 1993 stand-up special, Race.
No sense of humor about yourself, fuck you. You can be talked about too. This is America, fuck you. You can be talked about too. This is America, fuck you.
And yeah, if you couldn't gather, Mooney is referring to white people in this excerpt, because how else could a Peggy album start than with making fun of white people and white supremacy? We'll get into it a little bit more, I think, but one of this album's biggest flaws, in my opinion, is it kind of regresses the character of JPEGMAFIA. It kind of feels like he's abandoned the progressivism his earlier music was chock full of, in exchange for fairly generic lyricism and a surprising amount of misogynistic hip-hop cliches sprinkled throughout. And not to say that there aren't still hints of older Peggy in here, but they are weirdly few and far between on experimental rap. All that's to say though, it did make me retrospectively appreciate this intro sample and the way Mooney flips the common understanding of freedom of speech in his monologue. Get into the lead single now with Babygirl, and we've got 3 samples here. First off, the main vocal loop comes from a 2007 song by Saul Williams titled, Trigger, but, spelled differently. Also, I'm not gonna read it, but I'll throw up the name of the album that this Saul Williams track comes from. I do wonder if David Bowie ever heard about this. Anyways, next up a pretty short sound effect from the 2009 track Kiche Geokli. And of course, we've seen Peggy embrace Brazilian funk in his music with tracks like It's Dark and Hell is Hot before, so this sample again makes absolute sense. Also, shout out my good Brazilian friend Tibbs for his help on researching this sample, as well as sending me this meme in Portuguese. Finally, we have one of only 2 interpolations I was able to find on experimental rap, this one of course coming from My Humps by the Black Eyed Peas.
What you gonna do with all that junk inside your trunk? What you gonna do with all that cash? What you gonna do with all them clothes?
And believe it or not, we're actually maxing out at 3 samples on one track for this album. Pretty unheard of for JPEGMAFIA. But to be fair, I'm pretty confident that there's still a decent bit of undiscovered sample work present here, which again we'll talk about later at the end. Moving to track number 3 now, Burning Hammer, and we've got a pretty sick sample in the intro. It comes from a 2013 battle between 2 drum corps in San Antonio, Texas, those being the home team, the Crossmen, and representing the greatest state in the US of A, Jersey Surf.
Sticks up, it's time to throw down. Sticks up.
Sucks that Jersey Surf ended up getting destroyed in this clip, but it's fine. I'm a Cavs fan anyways. Okay, and we're actually going to be skipping track number 4, Money, for now, and moving instead to Pop This Heat. And I know you're thinking, surely there's at least one sample on Money to go over, right? Well, you are more than likely correct. I mean, the repeated money, 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 like that vocal, that is surely a sample, right? Problem is though, so far the community has yet to find any sample origins for this track, and so until that happens, we'll have to skip it. Also, I guess there is technically the money printer sound effect that's a sample, but again, producer tags and generic sound effects we don't really go over in this series for the sake of avoiding too much repetition, but still thought it deserved a mention. Anyways, only one sample again for Pop This Heat, and it's of course the famous piano loop from Brenda Russell's 1979 track, A Little Bit of Love.
So sweet, man, he's so sweet. On my knees, he no Pop This Heat.
You may have previously heard this track sampled in The Way by Ariana Grande and Mac Miller, or potentially even Still Not a Player by Big Pun. Alright, and again, we're gonna skip ahead of track number 6 here, Meet the Dealers, given it has no listed sample so far. And moving to, in my opinion, the strangest song of the record, Head. Despite the insanity that is the song's drop, we've actually got only one listed sample here, and again, it's pretty small. Believe it or not, it comes from Kaya's 2001 classic, My Neck, My Back, Lick It.
All you ladies pop your pussy like this. Shake your body, don't stop, don't miss.
I don't know why this one makes me laugh so much, just absolute chaos quickly broken from a half second of a Kaya song really epitomizes Peggy's production style in such a quick moment. And while we are on the topic of Kaya, say what you want about the validity of this new Kaya Asylum phrase that people are using to discredit any pop artist that isn't actively doing Taylor Swift numbers, but all I'm saying is, go back and listen to this track and try to remove all the context. It's a fucking slapper. Ooh, okay, and now we're getting to maybe my favorite sample in the bunch here with Degenerate's Prayer next. First up, we've got these awesome drums courtesy of the 2003 soundtrack for the Indian film Jayum by composer R.P. Patnaik. Really cool find here in my opinion, though I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the sampling of these drums in Bird Flu by MIA. Also, there's this absolutely blood-curdling scream sampled from the 1977 track Frankie Teardrop by a band with a name that I can't say on here. I'll play the clip in a second, but fair warning, I was genuinely very unnerved when I heard this original track for the first time, so just be warned. Kinda reminds me of when Peggy sampled that absolutely harrowing audio from the Kyle Dinkkeller murder in I Just Killed a Cop, Now I'm Horny. Granted, that one I think still definitely takes the cake for most frightening JPEGMAFIA sample. Last thing before we move forward though, again gotta mention the whole people come and people go, no faith in them, I'll do it alone, That was really good, holy. That vocal loop is more than likely also a sample, but again, it has yet to be discovered unfortunately. And yeah, for the sake of not having to bring this to attention on every single example of this, just assume if there's a sample on a song that I skip here, it hasn't been found yet. Anywho, now moving to the diabolically titled track, The Ghost of Emmett Till, with two samples to check out yet again. First, a sample that you will undoubtedly recognize when you hear it, coming from Shake Your Booty by Bunny Siegler, released in 1974.
How you feeling? You feel alright?
Success with success, I've been making the rest. I've never made it to the league and I'm still doing my rep. I left my fans with her reading, she said to me.
Tracks that also sample Shake Your Booty include Numbers on the Boards by Pusha T, Buffalo by Tyler the Creator, Love by Travis Scott, among many, many others. We've also got a super nice drum loop from Jimi Hendrix's Little Miss Lover, released in 1967. Also, of course, sampled in Crack Rock by Frank Ocean. Weird how the same loop bass can still produce such different tracks, though. Now reaching roughly the halfway point already, we've got another ludicrously titled track with Since I Met Ye, obviously referencing the infamous link-up of JPEGMAFIA and Kanye West back in 2024. And there's actually quite a few positive references to Kanye across other tracks here, which, again, makes me question what happened to the JPEGMAFIA that said he was gonna fuck up Varg Verns and Morrissey. It just really comes off to me as lazy controversy bait, especially considering the only line that references Ye in this song is a super basic clothing flex. I don't know. Either way though, the sample on here is still cool, coming from the 1993 track Mr. Big by the Memphis-based hip-hop duo 8Ball and MJG.
I quit my fucking job. I have no job, nigga. Put on the mask, get the Glock, it's time to rob, nigga.
Interesting though that the vocal chop says put on a mask, and a few tracks later we have a song called Mask On. Wonder if that's related at all. No matter anyways, since we now reach the third and final single for experimental rap, Yen, with unfortunately still only one sample to check out. Again, we've got a vocal loop throughout the instrumental, this time from the 2006 track Money in the Bank by Lil Scrappy.
Money in the bank, yeah. Shout out what you drink. I got money in the bank, yeah. Shout out what you drink. I got money in the bank, yeah. Shout out what you drink. I got money in the bank, yeah. Shout out what you drink.
Dude, this one actually makes me so sad though, because like that melodic vocal loop that comes in later in the instrumental sounds so sick, and I'm fairly sure it's another sample, but alas, it remains as buried treasure for now. Either way, swiftly moving on to GYBB, which ties with Baby Girl for the most samples on a song, with 3. First, of course, the main melody that the beat is constructed from, which originates from a 1961 recording of the song Little Birch Tree by the State Ural Russian Folk Choir. Hard to say.
Back in his whip like the 70s, bitch. Spray that cologne, better pepper me, bitch. I see you stalking, just step to me, bitch. I don't give no.
Fairly basic one here, but it's executed well. I love the spoken word intro with just the choir vocals, and the beat builds up to drop nicely with the addition of the bass and then eventually the drums. We do have another sample in the track's latter half now, being a sped up loop from the 1976 John Sebastian track, Welcome Back.
Niggas be bred for the art school, fucking your bitch for the sport like Barstool. Niggas will copy and paste you, then get mad when they cannot.
Another weird one for me, I'll be honest, but I think Peggy's always been able to execute these less predictable samples in a pretty cool way, especially on his older stuff. Like, some of the samples on there you would never expect their origin. Let me know if you guys would want to see some sample breakdowns of some older Peggy albums too. I was thinking maybe a Veteran versus All My Heroes Are Cornballs versus could be a lot of fun. But back to GYBB now, we've got the final sample here. Let's welcome back undeniably probably the MVP of the series at this point. I mean, the longevity is simply undeniable. Hell, it was even sampled in a Fava song. You know it, you love it. It's 1972's Think About It by Lynn Collins and its iconic drum break. Honestly, would not be surprised if this sample popped up somewhere else in this album too. It's like the Wilt Chamberlain of sampleage. Oh, and I'm just now realizing that getting to Tsar Bomba now, the next track, there's back-to-back Russian references here, so that's pretty fun, I guess. But oh boy, does the fun get snuffed out real quick here, since we finally reached the point where I gotta talk about this previously mentioned sample-based drama regarding this sample. But first, the sample itself. It comes from a 2022 track by the band We Weren't Invited, titled Personality Collector. Unfortunate the whole backstory behind this sample, since on its own, it's surely one of my favorites. But for those unaware, here is the story behind the sample so far, to my understanding. Shortly after Experimental Rap dropped, a post was made on the JPEGMAFIA subreddit where the OP claimed to be a friend of the band members of We Weren't Invited, and further, that Peggy didn't properly credit and compensate the band for the usage of the sample. Peggy then posted to his Instagram story attempting to clarify the claim, countering by showing the alleged details of the sample deal, where it shows the band asking for a flat $2,000, 20% net profits of the song, 20% of the copyright, and quote-unquote appropriate song credit. It should be noted too that this request was apparently made after an initial deal of the $2,000 and only a 10% compensation was discussed. And Peggy capped off the story by saying that he was going to remove the song from the album due to the narrative being spread that he simply yoinked the sample without compensation, which is a pretty big no-no in the music world, especially when it's an established artist stealing from a way less popular one. Now, I will say, as of recording this, the original song is still up on streaming services, so who knows, maybe they did end up reaching a deal behind closed doors, but overall, goddamn, what a mess. Like, I don't really even have a fully formed take on this situation, since it does seem like it's just a he said, she said at this point, but no matter who's in the wrong here, the whole controversy just added another layer to this already very messy rollout. But yeah, that's about it for this situation, I think, and the song as well, so let's move on. Not too many to go now, we've got track number 14, Mask On, next. And contrasting our last entry, this one should be pretty quick, since you guessed it, we got a repeat sample here. Of course from that Mr. Big track previously seen on Since I Met Ye.
Put on the mask, get the Glock, it's time to rob, nigga. Put on the mask, get the Glock.
Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Put on the mask, get the Glock.
Not really sure why this one got the honor of being sampled twice, but I will say I think it's done much better here. The cadence just works so much better as a repeated loop in my opinion. But anyways, now to easily the most talked about sample on this record, which is saying something considering all the drama behind the Tsar Bomba sample that we just went over. Of course, on the song Lights, we have a sample from All of the Lights by Kanye West. I don't want to come off as a hater here. I do think this album overall is good, but I feel like a sample this on the nose just doesn't sit right with me. For one, maybe this is a little pretentious of me, but I do believe some songs just aren't meant to be sampled. Usually songs that have a legendary, almost untouchable status, like All of the Lights does. Because at the end of the day, I think the heart of sampling is all about creatively reimagining a previously existing piece of music into a different, often better context. So when trying to do that with a song like All of the Lights or Runaway like the new Scrim album did, especially the most iconic parts of those songs. Like, this one literally samples the horn line, and then the scrim one samples the piano riff. Like, it's so on the nose. But point is, you've already lost, since chances are you're not going to come anywhere close to making something as captivating as the original anyways. It's like the music equivalent of those stupid edits people make to famous paintings. Sure, they're neat sometimes, but the overwhelming majority just don't need to exist when the original already does. And with the sample in Lights specifically, it comes off as even worse given Peggy's attitude when it comes to the whole Kanye controversy. Maybe if he had done this in like 2018 to 2021, it would have come off better, but in 2026, it just feels like a weird addition, at least to me. Okay, and I promise that's the last whole spiel I have with one of these samples. The rest should go fairly quickly now, for real. Would you believe it? We're actually at the penultimate sample now, on the track New Era, probably my favorite on the album. And that mellow vocal loop that coats the beat is a big reason as to why. Which is why I'm heartbroken that there hasn't been a discovered sample found for it yet. Yeah, bait and switch, I'm sorry, we actually just have an interpolation here, coming from Sim Simma by Beanie Man.
Sim Simma, who got the keys to my bimmer?
Fuckers, I gave my hand a cover. I know my leader's a pupper, he letting Putin fucker. I got the keys to the memo, bitch, Sim Simma. We light you up like a common crack.
I actually do love this one though. Not the most original, of course, but I think it fits the lyrical content well, given Peggy starts the chorus naming artists that hit their primes in his era growing up. But now, moving to our final sample, so far at least, we skip all the way ahead to the Civil War interlude. And this one I could see being debatable, similar to the infamous Fortnite mistake in the video that started it all, but apparently there is a sample here from XO/The Host by The Weeknd, specifically the transition between the track's two halves. And yeah, that's it. Pretty anticlimactic in all honesty. And I know we skipped like the last 8 tracks pretty much, which is crazy to me, but you guessed it, no listed samples yet. And so, this brings me to my humble request that I've been saving for the end of the video. In all honesty, I need your help. I mean, as we saw, I have a lot of confidence that there are way more samples here than we went over, but wouldn't you believe it, finding a very specific sample in a library of roughly 200 million tracks is a little tricky. I mean, hell, remember when the sample behind 2024 by Cardi was discovered literal months after it dropped? It's not the easiest thing finding samples for songs when the artist isn't transparent about them. And given my JPEGMAFIA videos are often my best performing, I wanted to send a message to everyone who made it here. I might even pin a comment as well. Please, 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 if you have any information on samples that I might have missed here, share it in the comments below, or hell, you can even try to post it to Who Sampled directly as long as you have an account. I'm gonna give it some time, of course, but if this video does help rally the troops to find a sizable number of the missing samples here, I will absolutely make a part 2 going over all the finds, with shoutouts to everyone that helped. Or hell, if there's any veteran sample hunters watching, even just recommending me some tips to get better at hunting myself would be greatly appreciated. So please, if you, like me, want to see more of these samples dug up, share this video and spread word of the cause. I'd really love to see some of the undeniable treasure this album has got under the surface. But with that, that's all I got for you guys today. If you enjoyed, make sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel to see new uploads from me and live streams every Friday like I said in the intro. Also, of course, leave a comment letting me know your favorite sample out of all the ones we covered today, or just what you thought of experimental rap as a whole. And as always, if you'd like to support the channel further, you can now become a member to receive early access to all of my videos, as well as a special shout out from me at the end of them, as you will see on screen right now. Join up if you're interested, it really does help me out a lot. But yeah, that's about it. Okay, I'm actually just looking in the script and I completely forgot to do an outro gag, so we're just going to do the anticlimax, I guess, and yeah, that's actually going to be about it. See ya.